joining. My name is Aurelia. I lead marketing here at marker.io. Today we're sharing practical tips to get more out of your marker.io and Jira integration. And this session will be led by Joe Scanlon, our head of customer success, who works closely with teams implementing this setup every single day. So Joe, I'll hand it over this to you.
Thanks so much, Aurelia. I really appreciate that. And it looks like this might be the first of our new web series that we're starting here, our webinar series that we're starting here. So I'm really excited to get things kicked off. And let me start by sharing my screen here. Awesome. Okay, so this webinar is all about some useful tips that we're offering you as regards your Jira setup mainly, but this can apply to other integrations. A lot of these could apply to other integrations, but yeah, we're mainly zeroing in on Jira for today. So we're all talking about some tips that you can implement within Marker that will literally save you hours every week. If you see blue on a slide, you need to take that seriously. Okay, so let's get stuck in here. Okay, so what we generally see is that most teams come in day one, they set up their Marker.io accounts and they kind of stop there. Sometimes they might even start implementing older systems that they had in place. So like consider a team that came from using a custom-made set of forms with lots of fields in them. What they end up doing sometimes is replicating that setup within Marker, not understanding that at least these days or very recently, we can do a lot of heavy lifting there for you within the Marker app itself. So I just have a slide here showing you setups that we sometimes see. So this is as an example of a Marker.io form in your application. And we see fields like the title, the description of the issue, the priority of the issue, who you want to assign it to, the reporter of this issue, the browser they're using, the browser version, the operating system name, the operating system version, the user role of the person reporting, and the environment that they're reporting on. Is it live? Is it staging? Is it something else? So this is something we tend to see quite a bit when we are helping out customers. Okay, and we want to today make you aware that it doesn't have to be this taxing. It doesn't have to be this tough on developers. Really, when people come to Marker, it's because they want to make life way easier for their reporters. They want to minimize that heavy lift of completing taxing forms. And then on the other side, they want ultra clear information for the developers. So this sort of form setup, I don't really like seeing too much. And like here in this example, you could actually achieve everything that's in those 12 fields with literally one field now in Marker. So here is an example of an issue. So this person is reporting, hey, the contact us button is blurred and unreadable, and the button itself isn't functioning. That's all this reporter is doing. It's replacing all of the work in the previous slide. And with that single sentence, they're able to produce Jira tickets like this. So hopefully now you can see this slide okay. In fact, let me open this ticket directly in Jira. So that single sentence that exists right here in the description of Jira, let me even zoom in a little bit here so we can see, okay. So yeah, all they've offered is this single sentence. Marker has grabbed their name and their email, the exact page they're on, lots of details here as regards console issues or network requests. Of course, you're all aware of the fact that we also grab things like what type of device is this, what browser is it, what version of browser, and so on, all these excellent technical details. But now we can organize these extremely well and clearly for your developers to very, very quickly and easily reproduce any issues and fix any bugs and implement any feature requests. So here on the right, they're getting a lovely clean view. This was reported by Sarah. The version, the browser name is Chrome, the version is 145, and all of these lovely technical pieces the reporter is blissfully unaware of and doesn't need to ever provide them. Okay. So what we want to say today is that high standard, I would say, of Jira ticket is literally just 5 tips away, 5 settings away. Okay, so these are the tips I want to go through today. Are you aware that you can preset and hide many of your form fields? This is a tip that will feature in all of the tips going forward, because it's kind of just a bit more advanced way of presetting fields. So here we can auto set the reporter. I'll get into that in a second. We can map built-in marker information directly to your Jira fields. Then we have tip 4, which is a decent piece of work that I'd love for you all to be aware of. And this is around passing your own custom data into Jira fields via marker as well. We'll get into that in a while. Then we have some AI features that'll make reporting much cleaner and much easier as well. And there's just a small bonus at the end where we're now able to rename all of our field labels within marker to offer yet more clarity to your reporters. Okay, so we're going to start here with tip number 1. And this is all about presetting and hiding your form fields. Now, this tip is kind of about trying to question yourself, hey, is it really necessary that I show all of these fields to my reporters? And 2 examples I have here for you is, do reporters really need to be the people assigning priority on their own tickets? And do they also really need to be the people that assign tickets to specific people? Do you even want to expose your internal teams to these reporters? And that's a question you should put to yourselves as well. And in the demo here, I'm deciding, no, I don't want my reporters to set priority. I'm just going to set that to medium in the background and hide that field. And similarly for assignees, in marker, you can literally decide who to assign not only specific project feedback to, but also specific issue types. So yeah, hey, if there's a bug on project type, on project number 1, I want all those bugs to go to, Tom or whatever it is. Okay, so let's see that in action. Let's see this tip number 1 in action. So we can go into our forms here in marker. And of course, you might be well aware that we have this idea of guest forms and member forms. Guest forms are generally for external stakeholders, so clients and end customers, for example. And anything you can do on guest forms, you can do on member forms. I'm just going to use member forms for today, and I'm going to use the bug issue type here just for demo purposes. So the 2 fields I'm zeroing in on first here are priority and assignee. They're currently existing on the form, but I no longer want these on my form. So I'm deciding to preset all my priorities to medium. And once a ticket is reported, I can always edit that myself with the understanding of what is in the ticket. For assignee, I'm just going to choose an assignee here. I'm going to choose Bob. And I want all bugs on this specific project to go to Bob. End of story. So for me, that's perfect. That means there's one more field I can get rid of. So already we're making a bit of headway here in reducing the number of fields. So on the right here, you're seeing what the reporter will see. So now we've removed 2 fields from here. I'm going to save the form, and I'm going to move on to tip number 2. Okay, the second tip is a pretty recent change we made for Jira that teams that know about it are really excited about. Okay, we're covering two things here. Firstly, there's never a need for your marker guests and members to enter a name and email, because we'll know that anyway. Even if we don't know, if they're not logged into marker, in fact, we can still help you pull that information if they're logging into anything. If they're logging into your website or they're logging into your web application, we can help you pass that information through to marker, and that's something we can share a help file with you after the webinar. But here, what I'm more talking about is if marker recognizes that the reporter reporting this ticket has an account in Jira, we can automatically set that person as the reporter in the Jira ticket. So let me show you what that looks like in Jira. So here we have a ticket reported by Sarah Murphy, and it's showing here in the reporter field that it's also reported by Sarah. Now, this is happening even though you have only connected your marker account to Jira via one single person's account, or one single bot account, or what's the word I'm looking for here? One single connected account. If we can still report tickets from people, and maybe I might have an example of this actually. Yeah, this ticket here. Okay, this ticket was reported by Sarah before we made that change. So here we have Sarah reporting a ticket, and the reporter is the account that we connected, that you would have connected marker and Jira with. So there's a nice new setting now in your Jira form where you can say, hey, I want you to auto set the Jira reporter. So if Sarah reports, put that into the reporter box. Or if someone that doesn't have a Jira account reports, simply use that initial account for reporting. So as soon as I switch this on, that automatically removes the reporter field out of the form. So yes, we're making yet more headway here in reducing our form length. Okay, so that's tip number 2. Moving on to tip number 3 then. This again is a recent change and works very well with Jira. This is the idea of course, many of you are aware that we capture browser, operating system, screen size, and other details automatically here in Marker. But now you can also pipe all that information into separate fields on your Jira ticket. So once you have created text fields to hold this information, you can use dynamic variables to fill them. So let me show you what that looks like. So here now for browser name, it's really simple. You just do context.browser.name. And again, we'll share a help file with you after the webinar here to show you exactly what you need to be putting in here. And I can follow on for browser version. It's very similar. And for operating system name, it's very similar. And for operating system, again, very similar. Okay, so I'm saving my widget there now again. And in fact, all 4 fields now I can again remove from my form. Okay, so we're making super inroads here on reducing this form length. Okay, now the next tip is very similar to this, but it's all about custom metadata. Okay, this is going to look like a big piece of work, but to your average website developer, it's a pretty easy piece of work to implement and very, very worthwhile. So this is this idea of passing custom metadata to Jira via Marker. And there's a few pieces of work. So the first thing you should look at here is, hey, what is it about our websites or what is it about our applications that our developers would love to understand every time they get a bug or a feature request or an improvement or any type of issue coming into Jira? Would they love to know, what type of user reported this bug? Would they like to know the exact version of the website or the web application when this bug was reported? Would they like to know what plan the person who reported this issue was on? And there's many different useful pieces of information. And it's not about hey, how much info can we shove into this ticket? It's more about what are the most useful pieces of information that our developers would like. And here in my example, so I'll just move on to the next slide. Here in my example, I am setting up, so I want to know the environment of the application or the website that's being reported on. This seems to be ultra important to my developers. They're much more concerned if they're getting a bug from the live website, for example, than the staging website. So it's a very, very useful piece of information. And they also want to know the role of the user. So are they an admin? Are they a member? Are they just a viewer? And again, this helps, I suppose, really triage and prioritize tickets as well for the example team I'm highlighting here. Now, it's not like you can copy and paste this code and you'll get your environment and your user role. There is a piece of development work to be done here, like I said, and a conversation to be had with some developers to decide on the most appropriate and best pieces of custom data you want to collect. So for me, going back to my form, I have this idea of user role and environment. And again, very like I did for the preset dynamic values in my operating system and browser, I can use dynamic variables here as well. But again, you just need to be a little bit careful because we can't precisely verify this detail. So you need to make sure that this matches up with the code that your developer is putting into your website as part of the marker.io snippet code. Okay, so I'm able to add here the user role very easily and the environment very easily. So again, I can save them. And again, actually, now I can remove these two pieces from the form again. So now we're really getting down to the business end. We just have title and description remaining. Okay, and that, of course, is where our good new friend AI comes in. So we've recently launched some excellent new AI features. Two of them are around this idea of magic rewrites and AI title generation. Now, magic rewrites help your reporters restructure their bugs and their issues to make them, I suppose, more appropriate for a developer team to understand. And the AI title generation is a really useful piece that we've launched as well, which creates a title from the written description. So there's no further onus on the reporter to come up with a title. And we're avoiding a minor issue we used to have back in the day where reporters would accidentally or otherwise put the whole ticket into the title. So avoiding that piece of confusion as well. So let me show you how this works in the marker end. So the first thing we need to do is go to Settings, AI, and switch on these two features. So there's Enable Magic Rewrite, and there's Generate Titles Automatically. So they're the two I'm going to focus on for now. And now I'm going to go to my demo website and report an issue with those AI features switched on. So this is a demo website I have. Let me go to the HR portal, for example, here, this page. So let's say, for example, I want to move Emily out of engineering into sales because Emily is not in engineering. She should be in sales. So I want to report that issue. So here I go, report issue. And, it takes a nice screenshot here on the left that I can annotate, of course. So I can point at Emily and I can point at engineering. And here on the feedback, I can say something like, hey, Emily should be in the engineering department. Sorry, I should say sales, should be in the sales department. Not in engineering. She moved 1 year ago. Okay, perfect. So so that's like a pretty, that's a pretty, that's a fine piece, that's a fine bug to report or issue to report. But let me just click here to improve my writing, and it kind of makes it more developer friendly. So then after clicking on that, it says, hey, update the employee's assignment. Emily should be moved from the engineering department to the sales department. This change reflects her department move that occurred 1 year ago. So I'm going to accept that, that change and create the work item. So there you have it. Now I've reported that issue using just one field, and we can click here to see what happens first, I suppose, in the marker side of the house. So here we get the title, update employees assignment to sales department. We have the description here, and we have all of the details I just walked through there on the presentation. So we have my user role, I'm an admin. We have the operating system I'm using, the operating system name, the browser version, and the browser name here as well. So all of these details are included in this ticket. And we have custom metadata here as well. We have the environment is live, and we have the user role is admin. So then I can view that ticket in Jira here as well. And again, we can see all this information captured here. We have all the title here. We have the description. We have all the information here. So yes, Bob Jones reported this. It was a bug. The browser name and the browser version and everything is organized here on the right as well, including the assignee and the priority set to medium. So your project manager or your developer can take all of these automatically captured details and decide, is this priority, for example, appropriate, or do we need to assign it to someone else, or anything like that. But all it's taken from the reporter side is a very simple one sentence, one click effort. Oh yeah, and the bonus tip then, just before we leave it, is we now have the ability to rename field labels. And this has been extremely useful because some teams, like they were presenting form fields like repro steps or even description, and reporters sometimes wouldn't be overly sure what should go into that field. So now you have this nice ability to be able to go into any of your form fields and change the label. So here, instead of explain your feedback, let me just put in feedback question mark here, just as an example. So here you're able to change your form labels as well, which can make it a bit more, and make it a bit easier for your reporters to understand. So that is all the tips. And I know we're going to share, I'm not sure if we're going to share this presentation with this checklist, but we'll definitely share something like a checklist here for you to help you understand and help guide you along the best way to set up your form fields. And yeah, I think that's it for me. Thanks so much for listening. I hope I wasn't moving tabs over too much or talking too quickly, but I'm going to hand you back to Aurelia now. And look, as I say here, we're always happy to walk you through any of these issues here, and you can book a call here as well. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Joe. I've checked the chat. It seems that we don't really have questions asked, but actually we have some questions collected by us from our customer calls, questions that are asked pretty often. So if you're ready for a quick Q&A sessions, we can jump into it.
Yep, sure. Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay, so question number 1. Can we connect more than one Jira project to marker.io?
Great question. And yes, you can. Yes, you can. I'm not going to go through exactly how you do that now, but in Marker, every time you add a new project website, you can either sync that to the same Jira project, or in fact, every time a new Jira project. So that's completely up to you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Question number 2. What happens when we mark an issue as done in Jira?
Okay, I didn't even go through that, but yeah, once you have a ticket in Jira and you change it from to do to done, that resolves it in Marker as well, and immediately notifies your reporter that that's resolved.
Mm-hmm. All right. One more question. Does Marker's integration with Jira works only with Jira Cloud or also with other Jira versions?
No, it works with Jira Cloud and self-hosted versions as well. It's probably something we'd work on a call with, especially if the Jira self-hosted versions are like well firewalled and behind IP addresses. There is a small piece of work to be done there. Nothing major, but that's something we work with enterprise teams with a lot.
Okay. And I think it's also helpful to clarify whether the tips that you showed today, do they apply to team plans, business plans, startup plans?
That's a great question. I believe everything I covered here applies to the team plan, but interestingly, and I meant to cover it. I meant to cover it. It just came up when I did a screenshot there a while ago. You might have seen
data masking, right?
Data masking, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
On the screenshot I took at the end here.
Mm-hmm.
This is an interesting one for highly regulated teams, is like this idea of masking specific information that you don't want to go near Marker servers or Jira servers, or literally going outside your own domain. And that is part of the business plans for sure. And that includes things like audit logs and SSO as well. But people do really seem to really like this idea of being able to very easily, just a piece of CSS, very easily mask and hide sensitive information like SSNs in this simple example.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I actually just noticed one more question. I will just quote it. Speaking of statuses in Jira, I've noticed that pretty much all in-progress statuses in Jira map to one in-progress status in Marker. I'm not sure. We need to clarify this question.
So this is issue status is pretty new. So bear with me. Let me go to settings, statuses. So here we have up to...
Joe, just 1 second. Maybe you can share your screen. We don't see it.
Oh, my apologies. I thought I was sharing there. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so so we've recently released a few additional statuses, the in progress and in review. And my understanding is, yeah, I'm not sure is this even going to work because this is very much a test environment I'm on. Bear with me now 1 second. Okay, probably the best thing to do is actually literally get in touch on that one, because my account is all a bit messed up. But yeah, my understanding is you should be able to assign each status to a specific, either a single specific Jira status or a grouping of Jira statuses, and that's something we can hop on a call with to clarify for sure.
Okay. All right. So I guess when it comes to questions and presentations, we are at the end. We're also at time now. So thanks everybody for joining. Thanks again, Joe. I'll give a quick reminder that the recording of this webinar will be available through the same YouTube link that you used for joining today. And we will also send over the checklist and notes from this webinar via the email that you used for registering. And another reminder that if you'd like to go deeper into your own setup, you can always book a chat with Joe and our team, and we can help you with your Jira integration and maybe share some personalized tips based on how your team works. So thanks for your time, and we hope this was helpful.
Thanks so much.
Goodbye.
Bye for now.